Alright, so, I'm gonna confess that, for the past 5, 10 years of, my involvement in online politics, I've considered myself more aligned with the left, especially with things like, social issues. As a trans person, that, uh, bodily autonomy and freedom of expression is very important to me, and, being able to foresee a future where I can live as myself authentically if I never, aided the resources, and am able to work hard enough to achieve my dreams. As a trans person, I would like to be supported. I think that trans people should be able to use, the correct bathroom and they should be respected, the pronouns and stuff. Of course, that's just one issue. And the left, they're all about, really progressive causes like LGBT rights and abortion rights and yeah, they preach a lot about bodily autonomy and very universal, freedoms, and negative freedoms that, and some positive freedoms sometimes, although they're sometimes split on that. But that's what really kind of reeled me in, through for many years is this. This concept that that we're focused on community, and that borders don't matter, nations don't matter, you know. But when I the more I listen to them talk about Islam and other cultures, the more I realize how identity politics has really clouded their judgment. When it comes to standing by their principles, and I think one part of that possibly has to do with the privilege, and the risk factor. So, if you're privileged, you're living in the West, the first world country, and you have a lot of things going for you. You can sort of separate yourself off from the world, from the horrors that are going on in countries where people are being bombed, and uh, oddly enough, that people get really bored, and sometimes they get sucked into weird ideologies that are completely incoherent and incompatible with the things that they advocate for. Like they say that they'll support the DPRK, and they get obsessed with this sort of old guard, aesthetic. Meanwhile, they'll have 16, she, him, z, her, Faye, pronouns, vape, neurodivergence, this and that, socialist, and it's sort of become a bit of a meme. But I'm not here to make fun of anyone, and I would still consider myself like mostly on the left, at least, practically speaking. But there really seems to be a disconnect, from and there's not like a principled alignment that many many leftists have, that you would think, logically, that the logical conclusion that you support things like bodily autonomy and abortion rights and LGBT is that you would oppose regimes which are against those things. But ironically enough, because but in practice, you have the Christo-fascists and the Islamofascists who are ideologically much more similar, except for circle God versus square God. But what happens is that, what comes to liberating oppressed peoples in Cuba, in Iran, and and people are under pressure in Afghanistan, as well. The women's rights have declined significantly. Is that a lot of these Western leftists are just utterly silent. And it's embarrassing because a lot of the same LGBT members of the LGBT community in the Iranian, diaspora are like left like a stick in the mud. It's like, the only people who are here to help me now are these these Christo-fascists and MAGA. And so what ends up happening is that these people who are seeking, liberty and freedom are the only help that they're getting, and acknowledgement that they're getting is by are by the MAGA people, and it's an utter embarrassment. It's a huge moral failure, on the left to stand by their principles. And I left a cult when I was a teenager. I was raised in this cult called the Jehovah's Witnesses, and sure, I don't know, it sounds irrelevant, but I'm gonna get to my point in a second. But basically, a second, how should I word this? No, uh, after I found the critical, after I learned to trust, the inner, light in my heart, and trust my own critical thinking and beliefs, and, put two and two together, things, I learned that the most important thing in life is following what you know deep down, to be true. And what I find with the left is that the community and cult-minded mentality prevents them from really taking a stand for things that are right, and it prevents them from truly aligning with these other oppressed peoples. And because they're privileged, that sort of fear, I guess, of fear of death and fear of trouble, of war, may override the solidarity that they should really have. And so what happens is when you see the assassination of Ali Khamenei, uh, what you ended up with was so-called feminists now saying that they were upset by it, and just going in a full like West bad mode, and it makes no sense. But West just and the meltdown is, as you can see, of the left is just it's embarrassing. It is the biggest L that I think I've ever seen. And and if and one thing that really helped me get over my fear, my fear and my privilege, my sense of privilege, is when I joined the military. And I believe that instilling the right values, and not seeing it as though it's West versus East and Middle East and all these cultures. We need to respect different cultures. The truth is, if you believe in your values, if you believe in bodily autonomy and everything, then you should stand by that, like, no matter what. And as much as it sucks, it's like, the Islamists are willing to die for their values. That no one can take you seriously in life uh, uh, unless you're willing to stand by your values until death, and going through the military, and and just hardening up with that a little bit, finishing basic and getting out of there and working hard, to support myself and my family. I think is what a lot of leftists need. They need to toughen up, and then maybe, we would see more consistency, and they would support Melissa. But before I ramble on a little too much, let's just go over these. This is so ridiculous. Who are the best Iranian journalists and content creators covering the conflict, who are not just standing the monarchy? And first of all, this bitch right here, and she is a grown-ass woman. I applauded her for the work she did against that transphobe, what do you call it, limbs of TikTok, who goes around harassing people, harassing teachers. She did great work with that. I want to commend her for that. But this is the epitome of what's wrong. And so first of all, journalists interview hostile people all the time. She interviewed libs of TikTok, because you see, she needed to sit in that contrast to show, like, okay, this is the consensus. This is what I believe. I'm collecting information from you, and I'm gathering opinions. That's what journalists do. Because the majority opinion of Iranians is in support of the monarchy, then, the obvious thing to do would be to interview those people, and then, your audience will come to their own conclusions, based on, uh, yeah. Is there anyone? It's insane. It is ridiculous. All right, so there's the first one, and I just had to And just built a little funny one. Alright, so here's the second one. He got Palestine flag, of course. And here comes another trans flag. She, her, Edit Dale, a very gay girl who likes Star Wars. I'm so quirky, hee hee. Supports the Cuban regime, supports Hamas, supports the DPRK, critical support to Iran. Well, I don't know what that means, to be honest. I'm stupid. Not relevant as anti-Semitism, not relevant in the 21st century. This is the kind of brainworms that we're dealing with here. A full support to Hamas, who would throw her off a building, in a split second. And there's just zero self-reflection. You can go through. I'm surprised this person didn't block me. For I'll support. Yeah, there's another trans flag as well. Yeah, another trans flag. Another trans flag. I mean, it could be a CIA operation. They always accuse people with common sense of being CIA, such as myself. So maybe you are what you accuse people of. Yeah. And this is also the result of this. By not by the left and by LGBT and people and people who are fighting for their rights. By not having a spine, this is what you have. You have, the rest of society is going to make a mockery of you, and this is embarrassing to me. This is really embarrassing because I want people to see the trans flag and think, wow, those are some badass motherfuckers. They stand with the Cubans. They're about that business. They're about making a free world for everyone. They're willing to die for freedom, Here's this fucking retard that I used to be a mutual with. And, I spent every 2 minutes or so, waiting for them to condemn the Iranian regime. Whose side are you on? What do you mean by that, Scarlet? It's the easiest question. It's the most straightforward. Do you want to try this again? And I even try to be nice. I try to be nice, okay? I don't want to argue with an ally. I just want to know why the importance of challenging the number of Iranian deaths was to you. I was responding to Iran's claim. I care about misinformation. And I point out some important context right here. There's limited data. They had a blackout. They shut down the internet. Yes, understand, information is limited, blah, blah. As for who I support, I think it's obvious. I oppose the killing of innocent people in Palestine, which we weren't even talking about. That's crazy. You asked who I support. I oppose the killing of innocent people. Oh, fucker. Yeah, and as I correctly pointed out, he is all lives mattering, Ronnie's. And shortly afterward, he screen clipped me and said, and then he was like, "Oh, I support the." He finally said, "I support the Iranians." So I want to give credit. I can't remember exactly where my notifications that is. Let's see. This is Leonard Fiddle. Take too long to find it. Yeah. There we go. Clear enough for Iranians. And with a little pushback, I guess, yeah, you can finally make some ground. But it's just, yeah, the mind games that you have to go through to avoid criticizing an Islamofascist regime that doesn't even represent the will of the people. And now that we're done with the fucking Islamo left, let's give some love to the Iranians. Right? Oh, no one liked my comment. Oh well. I lied. You could see the sorrow in their eyes. That none of them are singing along to the anthem. I know. I feel like that person may. It looks like some people may start to. That she's just having conversation. She's like, please just let it be over. That's crazy. And yes, this is a good channel to talk about what's going on. I'm not sure if they support progressive causes, like myself, but oh, I hope that's not copyright. That's amazing. God bless the Iranians. Thank you, Trump. And Trump is our president. They're the only people in the world, and also Cubans and Venezuelans, if we strike their regime, are who are allowed to support President Trump. All right, you have to give them a pass. Here are the cheers and celebrations heard in Tehran, following Khomeini's death. Is that fucking amazing? And here's with it that they're actually cheering while the strikes are going on. That's so amazing. I mean, I truly hope that their entire infrastructure doesn't end up a smoldering crater by the time, or if they are able to achieve, self-determination and restore the monarchy, the constitutional monarchy that they are working on. I was once watching a YouTuber named Goldie. I think she's an Iranian. She was discussing how the king has a plan that has been in the works for decades to transition to a democratic government. I don't know what the monarchists' average position is on LGBT people, but it's not exactly the top of the on the list right now. So yeah, that's just where I want to end this video. God bless the Iranians. Thank you, America and Israel and Trump, for this, just for this, Trump, for helping to liberate these people. I hope that it works out well for everyone and that we can move closer toward a freer world for everyone.